Just a little more prep.
Okay, now I see that.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen,
All right.
welcome back to the Canadian Bro Show. We got a special one for you today. Aside from the co-host of the most, to it looks like my left and your right, is Mr. Johnny Leister, or Leister.
He's only known me for 52 years.
Yeah, well, it slips up every once in a while, but welcome to the Canadian Bro Show. We have a really special episode, and my name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. This is episode 43, and aside from the handsome gentleman, Mr. Johnny Leister, who's the co-host of the most of the Canadian Bro Show, we have an incredible guest. We're really excited to have him back. The legend that is Mr. Jonathan J. Brown. Welcome to the show, episode 43. My God. Last time Jonathan was with us, we did episode 23. So 20 episodes later, here we are.
There's a method to your madness. I like it.
Oh, well,
there's
a lot of madness.
Thank you so much for having me back. I've done a lot of podcasts. This might be the only one, or there's two podcasts that have had me back for a second time.
So only two?
Only two. Well, because I'm so booked. I saved space for coming back here.
Awesome. and thanks for coming back again. This is part two.
Man. Thanks.
Our last interview. For those that are interested, we have a YouTube channel at the Canadian Bro Show, and I think right now this would be episode 43 of the first iteration, which is all things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. We did a second iteration with my good friend Trent Rowley, all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rowley. And then on top of the YouTube or the real estate videos that I had done previously, I think we're at about 73 videos in 3/4 of a year or so. Really happy to be a part of this. It's growing. We're learning. But more importantly, it's really nice to have one of my old friends. And I just want to read something that I was working with writing, because these guys, Jonathan is an accomplished and published writer, and he has probably more than one literary agent, and Johnny is very close behind him. Both prolific, both talented, both do a very similar genre in their own styles, which is fascinating. And I'll let Johnny get into it. I'll let Jonathan get into it. But before we do that, I got episode 43, the return, thank goodness, of Mr. Jonathan J. Brown. Part 2. New stories, some new struggles, and a lot of future success. And at the end of the day, when I think about Jonathan, I think about him coming back, and I think about all the obstacles and resilience. It's really interesting to see people go through what we have to go through in life. Some others more than others. And Jonathan J. Brown is bigger than books, and he's back. Welcome to the show.
Damn. Wow. Thank you for that intro, man.
Yeah.
You
deserve it.
Very warm, very fuzzy. I like it.
Yeah. Wow.
And congratulations on crossing over the 40th episode, and 50's around the corner. You guys are trucking along, man.
Yeah. Trying to, there's a lot of content out there, and but really, Johnny and I are trying to diversify the Canadian Bro Show with all three iterations. We focus on Canadian pop culture for the most part, and it's quite broad in its nature, and which is excellent, because that allows us to explore so many different areas of pop culture. But the basketball, Jonathan, as you know, and Johnny certainly has heard so much over 52 years of being my friend. As he just passed out.
Nothing but net, Johnny.
Yeah.
I hear from Sonia listening to Paul talk about basketball.
No, I mean, I can't help myself. I'm a hoop junkie. But Johnny, I just tell Johnny all the time, I'm like, if you need a gummy, if you need a triple espresso, whatever you need, a better night's sleep, just do it, because we both love the experience and we love the content. But this is about you. What is going on, my friend? Jonathan, you're in your home studio. You're in California. Johnny's in Vancouver.
Okay. Hey, Vancouver, where I was born and raised.
Yes. Yes, well, that's two of you. I was born and raised in Cambridge in the UK, but Johnny's at the Vancouver Library, and I'm in beautiful Kelowna in the Okanagan Valley.
Okay, and I'm in Los
at my home
Angeles.
studio. Yeah, in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. And
Yeah.
Jonathan, why are you in Los Angeles? You're Canadian, you're a dual national, is that correct?
I'm dual citizen. Yeah. Came
Lucky you.
here, I was following the rock and roll dream about 30 years ago and ended up staying here. I don't know if any, for those that didn't hear the last time I was on here, I was in remission from cancer, which is multiple myeloma, which is a blood and bone marrow cancer in the leukemia family. And that SOB came back. So I've been knee deep in that battle again. But, don't cry for me because I'm winning this thing. I feel great. And far more good has come out of it than I thought, man. Like, this is, I got to say. So I just wanted to let the listeners that didn't hear the last time, I'm still here.
Well,
I'll be here for a while.
Unless you're AI generated.
Oh, yeah. See, you might never know.
Like Doctor Who. Well, when we had you on your first podcast, we talked about your books and your journey as a writer.
Mhm.
And I think our focus this time is more around on your physical health.
Mhm.
And what was your first indication that you had this horrible disease? Like, what was your first red flag? Was it a lump? Was it tiredness?
Yeah, excellent. The first indication was, I had sore ribs on the right side, but I have a background in Hapkido, which is a Korean karate. So I had been kicking the bag, and after I was done, the ribs were sore, and I just thought that's my age. But one thing, and you can attest to this, Paul, is like if you've done years of sports, like you know your own body better than your doctor does, you know. So when it's lingering a little too long and the CBD oil wasn't working and the ice isn't working, it's like, what's going on here? So I thought, okay, I got to think about this. And then I was on my stationary bike one day watching the TV in my gym, and I looked down at the pedals for a second, and when I looked up, there was 3 televisions. And I was not high, no gummy, no nothing. And I thought, what the F was that? And I thought, let me try that again. I looked down, and the same thing happened. Almost fell off the bike, and would have been embarrassing to be a personal trainer and fall off a stationary bike.
and an athlete.
And an athlete. Yeah, so there's other things. Then some bones were kind of sore. So then I got a ridiculous headache. Went to the doc.
At that point, Jonathan, just to interrupt really quick,
sure.
At that point, did you, with your intuition, if you're attached to a strong intuition, did you feel at any point that perhaps something was creeping in or might be wrong, or you had no idea?
When I had the headache, I was concerned. I didn't think it was related to the other stuff, but
Right.
and so I went to the doc, and they said, "Oh, you have a sinus infection." Now, I've never had one of those, so I took their word for it, and then I was on antibiotics for 10 days, and it was the most excruciating pain I've had in a long time. I can think back to being hit in football and concussed, and this was worse.
Now, the antibiotics were making the pain worse, not alleviating the pain in any way?
Just not alleviate. It was just the same, and
Okay.
I was barely sleeping. It was just, 3 a.m. I'm just on the edge of the bed, just squeezing my temples like, this is not right. And then I went back, and they said, oh, you know what, when we look at your diet, which is organic and you're healthy and all that stuff, this doesn't make sense. Let's get a scan. So they found a mass in my head. And they thought, okay, that's probably a brain tumor. So that's what we started working on. And I got to say that the minute they said that was possible, of course it was upsetting, but it was a relief to, like, there's nothing worse than not knowing what the hell's going on with you.
Yeah.
Right. Because most of us guys, we'd rather not know. Like, we won't see a doctor unless their arms and legs are falling off, and even that.
Well, and that's typical of guys. Absolutely.
I was okay with that. I could face the music, but
in the United States,
yeah.
If you don't have medical insurance, that is a life altering.
It can
you're
be
toast.
Yeah. And I don't want to go too
afford
far
it.
into that. But
I'm just saying.
But you're absolutely
People
right,
don't know. They don't know.
It's very it does not make sense to be the number one superpower, let's say, and have a healthcare system that's for profit. It's
the
wrong.
most expensive healthcare in the world.
Yeah, it's yes, but I'm blessed that I'm covered through my wife's job, and I'm getting great care, amazing care. Shout out to Kaiser Permanente, and shout out to City of Hope, where I did my stem cell transplant.
And I remember you mentioned that in the first part one.
Yeah. So, I had a good year off, and I was on a maintenance chemo, Johnny. So they said this is the type of cancer that just, because it's so deep in your blood and your bone marrow, it usually comes back at some point. So I was on the lowest dose of just one pill a day, and I would do my blood every week. So that made me feel good because they could check it all along the way. And they'd see little spikes, but then it would tamp itself back down. And then finally they said, it's not staying down. Then we had to do another biopsy and do another MRI and all that stuff. And they said, yeah, it's back. So, what we did last time is, after I did all this chemo, I did something called a stem cell transplant. So they took my stem cells, they take them out, they add a bunch of enzymes, and they do a bunch of stuff, and then they give them back to you. This is after all the cancer has been knocked out by the chemo. And so that's how I was in remission for 2 years, clean bill of health. And one of the things about once you get those stem cells, they're brand new, they're baby stem cells, so it's almost like you're the bionic man for a minute. You're starting over with, the fountain of youth in a way. But they don't keep the cancer away. We had hoped that it was gone from all that chemo that I did. Now what I learned from my oncologist is, this is typically a cancer that gets people in their 70s. And the people that didn't make it, it was usually they couldn't handle the chemo. So the science was, if they have young stem cells, they can handle the chemo if the cancer comes back. So there's a method to the science.
Right.
And they were shocked that it came back within 2 years. And it was funny, they were apologetic. And I'm like, you guys, you didn't do it. Or wait, Did you do it? I said, this is... part of life. There's good shit and there's bad shit. So,
and are you in constant pain? Are you in pain right now? Oh, good.
No, that's why I'm so lucky. It's just a little fatigue now and again. My right knee
Jonathan, once
bugs me
again,
sometimes.
you for an old dude, you look unbelievable. Look at that smile. Look at the skin. Yeah, I know you work out. And your attitude and positivity is remarkable. And our old good friend Michael Bashinsky wanted to say hi because I told him we were doing the show.
Oh, I love that guy, man.
And he follows you because Michael
is
going.
And you, Mike, from Henry Hudson. Mike
Yes.
and I, we grew up together.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we all did. And Mike's going through his own journey. We're all going through our own journey.
Yeah, I need to talk to him because you told me he was going through.
He's going through his own journey, and definitely he's reached out to you via social media, and he just said hi. And if you want to take that farther, I'm sure he'd be happy to chat with you. Because he is, I just got to say, the reason why I brought it up is I love Mike. I love my man Jonathan and Johnny and my old friends. But at the end of the day, this is about a celebration of life.
Yep.
And the triumph of spirit.
And absolutely.
And this is why we need to talk about these things. And we really thank you for being frank and honest and extending. We want to talk about your writing and everything, but I appreciate Johnny's frank questions because I'm like that too.
Sure,
and thank God you're at least a person that's open to sharing your experirences.
Well,
right?
I almost see it as irresponsible not to. If I can help in any way, then let's do that. So let me just put where I'm at now.
Sure.
Is it's pretty cool and a little frightening at the same time. So they took double the amount of stem cells that they needed, and they gave half of the stem cells back to me, and then they put the other ones on ice. They put them in a fridge, and they said, and they're good for 10 years.
Wow.
So I said, okay, am I going to be getting those other stem cells? And we doing this again? And they said, well, we've kind of moved forward with the science. We've got a better idea. Okay. So I'm I haven't talked to the stem cell doctor yet, but it's 90% looking that I'm going to do this procedure called CAR T. So we all have T cells, and they're in our bodies. One of the things they do is they fight cancer. But cancer has been very slick for many years, and it can mask itself, so the T cells don't always find it. That's why we use chemotherapy and radiation and that kind of stuff. So CAR T is, they're now going to go in there, take my T cells, and what the scientists do is they take them to a lab for about 2 or 3 weeks, and they train them to recognize the cancer and attack it.
Wow.
It's bananas that the science is at this level, and then they give them back to you. So in the early stages, the one problem they had is a lot of people were getting their own T cells back, and then there was something called a cytokine storm, where basically your body fights the T cells, or the T cells fights there's just a brawl in there, and some people passed, and other people had this crazy reaction. So what they do now is they keep you in the hospital, and they've found that typically it's about 3 days of hell, and they just give you exactly what you need medication-wise to get through this freaking storm. And then once you come out the other side, these T cells, which are our own, stay with us, and they will attack cancer if it pops up again. If it doesn't, they'll just cruise around and do their thing. So basically, they're your own bouncers or security guards, which is a natural thing, to fight the cancer. And they said it's kind of a must with this type of cancer that can. And my oncologist was trying to find an analogy, and I said, like a dormant volcano, it just sits there, but it could erupt.
Yeah.
He goes, He goes, I'm going to use that. And I said,
You're right.
there's the writer in me. So
you changed your diet after you got your first diagnosis?
I basically went to 0 sugar, and I was not much of a sugar guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, at all. But if you go to AI, Google, wherever you go, and you type in what's the favorite meal of cancer cells, it's sugar.
Yeah, I believe
And
it.
it's like, bro, Canadian, bro, fuck me.
Yeah, no doubt.
So forget all that. And so,
Oh yeah.
Not
but
safe for work.
what's that?
Never mind. I said not safe for work. Too late.
Right.
No, it's an adult show. We can say whatever we want with
Oh,
reason.
that's right. That's right.
No, it's all good. And studio and Johnny's in a studio, and it's soundproof in the library, so nobody can hear. Fuck you, you fucking asshole. It's all about love here. This show is we're mature. We're 60-year-old men. We're just talking about life, and you're sharing with us information that most people don't know. So this is fascinating. Please.
Yeah, it's new to me. So,
is it new to health?
It's newer than the stem cell procedure. So, but they're really dialing it in, and it was while I've been going through this round of chemo, I wasn't really looking forward to it, because I don't go down rabbit holes on the internet, because you're just going to find scary stuff there. Yeah. But I just looked at it enough and saw that it was really rough for some people, and they had some lasting effects. But the thing is, I can't be doing chemotherapy forever. My body couldn't take that. So, and I will do anything to fight for life. So if that's the best science and it makes sense to me, then that's what we're gonna do. So
now, are you friends with other people who are going through what you're going through, and are you sharing each other's experiences and how you're dealing with it?
Well, what I have been doing, I guess you guys have seen, I do a lot of posts that sort of update, and I throw some humor in there and stuff like that. And the humor is to keep myself entertained, but it's also for people that actually have some kind of cancer or something that you can't lose. You got to fight for your humor. You got to fight for your passion. You try to keep life as normal as possible while this abnormal thing is trying to kill you. Because if you just sit there and stew in your own juices, it can't be. It'll be depressing, and the cancer will work. I believe it will work faster on you if you're not staying positive. Now, you're gonna have your down days, and I'm not a Buddhist, but I like a lot of Buddhist philosophy, let's say. and the first thing they will say is
Namaste. Absolutely.
exactly.
I'm
There are good
100%.
Yeah, there are good days and there are bad days.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is the sooner you recognize a bad day when it comes along, just say, oh, this is that shitty day. This too shall pass, and it
Yeah.
goes. Just let it go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't fight this, oh man, I'm so angry at this. That's not good. Yeah, you can be angry, but then say, I don't want to stay in this anger. Or what am I really angry about? The Buddhists would say, let it go, man.
It's a waste of energy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I follow this wonderful, and she has some Buddhist philosophies, and her name is Amma, A-M-M-A, and she created her own city in Goa in southern India.
Oh, okay.
And she travels the world for the last 60 years, hugging people and talking about love. And she's remarkable. I've seen her twice live, and I'm a huge Buddhist. But Amma I probably
Very
do
cool.
anywhere from 15 to 20 mantras a day.
Very
And
cool.
I don't know how bad of a shape I'm in, but I'm doing the exact same things anybody would do if they had an issue. I think I have issues. I think I have physical and mental issues, and I may have something I don't even know. So I'm doing everything I can, like you and anybody else that would be
Right.
conscious enough to be able to listen to the body,
Yeah.
spirit, and soul.
Yeah.
And do the right thing. And one of the things that Johnny and I have discussed, and Michael and a few other people have mentioned, is your resilience, your philosophy, your state of mind, your presence, your family dynamics. And you are part of the top percentage of people that are dealing with what you're doing in the way that is the most beneficial to the outcome in a positive way, as opposed to not.
You set
that
a high
true?
mark, is what we're saying.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try, and then with those posts or whatever, a lot of the feedback, to answer your earlier question, a lot of people will share through private messages and stuff that they went through it, they're in the middle of it, their mother just had it, and that was not my intention. I really just was going to do one video to announce it because I was so tired of texting different people and letting them know. And at that time, I still had the headache. So I said to my wife, I'm just going to send a video and then I'm done. And then people were so thankful and there was so much love, which is lovely. But when I could see that it was helping, I'm like, okay, I got to keep doing this. And I want to keep doing this because it helps me. I've always been about community and
Therapeutic, I imagine.
you know what I mean? All the ships rise.
But you could be the emissary of what you're going through to help people like you, or people that have no idea what it's like. And that is the volume. It speaks the volume. And one of the benefits is you're a writer. I mean, and you're working on your health but you're still a writer. And
Yep.
in our pre-show, I
big way
believe,
into
Johnny,
that.
you have one more question or another question you'd
No,
like
I
to
was.
ask?
Do you want to ask him anything more about his health? You mentioned writing. Why don't we segue into that?
I would like to, because he's such a talent.
Yeah.
Both of you guys are so talented. You both have very similar genres, and you've created something that's really well. I've read both of the content, and I really enjoy that genre very much. And the last time, 20 episodes, we had Jonathan on, and we wanted to find out about. He was in the process of releasing a book, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
Was that true?
Was I releasing? I think I was trying to find an agent for a book.
Pardon me. That's what I
Yeah.
meant.
Right. So that book is a standalone, like it's its own. It's a new character. The elevator Hollywood pitch would be The Bodyguard meets Taken. That kind of thing.
I'm in.
I love
And
it.
Take my money.
So rather than just go, hit 50 agents and see what sticks, because I've done that before earlier on, and I thought, okay, I don't want to do that. I sort of reached out to some authors that I knew and said, do you think this book would fit that agent or this agent in that genre? So I reached out to two, and it takes a long time. If you hear back within 6 months, that's a good thing. So so a year can fly by, and then you think publishing the book takes a year. So Not that I'm
At our age, years
At-
fly by
at our
anyways.
exactly. Yeah.
You
And
hear
then,
at our age, you hear a year, and it's like, oh, great, couple of months, no
oh
problem.
yeah. Exactly. If I'm in the 20s, it wouldn't matter. So the book was not picked up, so I was able to get it to a publisher that I already have, who published a book called Chloe. So that I should be getting notes in the next couple of weeks, and it should be released December of this year. So I'm fired up about that.
What's the title? What's it called?
The title,
Can you share that?
yeah, I can't share it. The title is The Defender.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sweet.
Love
So
And you mentioned before the show that you're working on 3 novels right now? currently?
yeah, so with that publisher, shout out to Level Best Books. I published a
Level
book.
Best.
I think it was 2022.
Level Best, you got good taste.
Yeah, I published a book with them called Chloe, and it was the first time that I wrote.
We mentioned that last episode.
Oh, okay, yeah, a female protagonist.
Yeah.
So most of my audience, readers, are women, but I think it's
Oh, really?
there's more women read more than dudes. Come on, guys, step it
When
up.
I go on Goodreads a lot. Do you ever go on Goodreads, Jonathan? Do you know that website?
I don't. People tell me I should. It's
You're on
my.
it. You're on it. I read a couple
Hey.
of reviews.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
4 stars.
okay.
4 stars.
Really, eh? That's cool.
And it surprised me. You're right. It's mostly women. It's mostly women writing these reviews.
Yeah. So I have a sequel to that. I'm just about done the first draft, so it'll probably come out at 75,000 words, and I'm about 50 or 60 now. And then there's the memoir. So I started writing the memoir right when I got home from the hospital in 22.
About yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah, and,
Wow.
and mostly around the cancer stuff.
Okay.
And then, like the joke you hear in comedy, I'm going through it, and I'm like, too soon. Reliving it right away, I'm like, I don't want to write this book. So I put it on the shelf and started to pick it up again. And as soon as I started to pick it up again, I got diagnosed again. I'm like, you mother. And so I thought, okay, well, hey, I've got the final third of the book now, because I can talk about the second time around
Yeah.
up to a certain point. And so the method to my madness, you guys are talking about helping people and stuff, is right now I'm getting certified to be a life coach. And then I want to have that like propped up by the memoir and get out there and do some public speaking. And just the whole thing is about getting everybody positive and 'cause
Awareness in a positive way.
yeah. And there's so much anxiety out there, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is not that hard to get past. I'm not talking about when you have severe anxiety. I'm not talking about that, but a lot of us are stuck, and or despair, especially right now. But we don't have to go into politics. But
No, please.
that's a big one. Woo!
Yeah, we won't talk about. We
Avoid the
love.
feeling.
You know what? In Canada, I'll tell you this.
Mhm.
We love Canadians. Love Canada. We're very
Yep.
proud.
Yep.
Elbows up. It's
Yep.
always been that way. We're kind of
Mhm.
goofy. We're loving. We're kind and generous.
Yep.
And we love big time. And we do not appreciate anything less, because that's what
Mhm.
we're used to. That's what we've manifested as a nation, celebrating 158 years.
Preach.
Young years for a nation,
Yep.
one of the best nations in the world.
There you go.
And what's going on with our southern neighbors is
Shocking.
it's beyond shocking.
No, it's
It's
diabolical. It's diabolical.
I love that. Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
worse than that, but
Mhm.
this is about you and your journey and manifesting, and
Mhm.
I think people need to hear stories like yours, and more
Mhm.
importantly, talented Canadians, and yes, you're American as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what nation you're part. It's about love. It's about
100%.
it's about love. And Amma, when I
Yeah.
brought her up, she goes around hugging people, and people always ask her, "What is your religion?" And she doesn't speak very much English, or she doesn't
Mhm.
speak much English, but she probably speaks a little bit.
Yeah.
And she'll say in her, I believe it's Hindu.
Okay.
She'll say, "My religion is love."
There you go.
And then smile, and
Yep.
then they start music, and
Yeah.
everybody is just absolutely enveloped by the white light of love.
I love that.
It's
Literally.
incredible, and it's
Yeah.
part of my mantra every day, and I just want to share that with, because
Yeah.
for those that aren't going on that journey, what do you do every day to explore your faith, to explore your religion, to explore your journey? and what do you need? And I think it's really important that we all have something that we do. And what you're talking about is taking it to the next level. And I think that's a great idea, Jonathan.
When people ask me what my religion is, I say I'm John Leisterianist, and I get funny looks, but I think it's all pretty much the same stuff. Mostly overlap.
And they'll be like, is that a porn star? What is that?
Has anyone ever said, yeah, me too, bro?
Is that a comic book character?
Well, in my at the end of all of my personal training sessions, I end with the phrase, all of the world's problems can be solved with love.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
I've made up some t-shirts. Some of my clients have the t-shirt, and
yeah, that's interesting, because my mantra with Amma is about surrounding ourselves with the white light of love and follow that path. And Johnny, please.
Sorry to interject. I'd like to ask Jonathan, maybe we talked about this in the last podcast. I want to ask you, Jonathan, about your writing process, especially with the novels, because my style is very stream of consciousness.
Okay.
I just spit it all out in my notebook. Like I take out my pen and I have a general idea and I'm off and running. But some writers plot everything out in advance.
Right.
You do a little of both, one or the other. Like, what can you tell us about your process?
I started out, stream of consciousness.
Good question.
I started out just going for it, just getting the story out. And then I found I was overwriting. I'd have all these chapters that didn't fit when I'd go back for the next draft and the next draft. And then an editor named Elaine Ash, she said, why don't you try outline? So I tried that, and it was very detailed outline. And so I thought, okay, now I've done both. And so I'm at a point now, 10, 12 books in, that the muse gives me the story, and if I don't need an outline, I'll just get it down. But if I get stuck or I'm not sure where I'm going, so it's a very loose outline. I kind of do both. It's a very loose outline that can be changed at any time, because I do like to have an idea where I'm going. Right. And then what I love about writing novels that are 60, 70, 80K plus is when there's so many places that you can jump in depending on your mood, because your book is so long, right? So, which short stories is a different thing, or little pulp fiction is different. So I never really get bored because there's so much to a book, and half the time you're just, at our age, Paul, we're trying to remember, what did I write? So
writing is discovery. When I'm writing and the story goes in a direction that I never anticipated, it just gets me so excited.
Or
I'll write something and it's like, well, that's kind of mundane, and I'll just add a little adjective or something, and suddenly the sentence I just wrote has some color, whereas before it was kind of vanilla. Yeah. And that's what I love about writing. It's a constant experience of discovery.
Yep.
And it never ends.
Okay. So you don't need to plot. You don't plot. You just go. Yeah, okay.
I'm just up and running. Paul and I had a teacher at Kits, Mr. Henderson. Did you take novels? Did you take novels in high school? We had novels 12.
That's a good teacher name, Mr. Henderson.
He was
awesome, man.
Yeah. Cool.
He's kind of the saddest, but he had us do an exercise called. I don't think he'd be allowed to teach in these old times.
It was a different time.
He had us do an exercise called speed writing. We had a stopwatch, and you write on the blackboard. I was walking home from school, ellipses. And you had to write stream of consciousness.
Yeah, I used to love that. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I had that experience, because that really informs my writing.
Yeah. Yep. Like a prompt or something. Yeah, that's great.
I'll never forget one of his classes I went to, Henderson. I always took his writing 11 and 12 because they allowed you creative input. And it also being Johnny and I, and I'm sure yourself, Jonathan, being voracious readers in the 60s and 70s, and I guess the 80s, until television and film sort of evolved a little bit. And he just came out and he goes, he'd go through the entire class. He goes, Bale, I want you to write whatever you want to write, and I want you to present it next week. And it's got to be this amount of pages. It's got to be this. It's up to you. So nice. A week later,
challenge.
He calls me up. I'm in the first seat of the first row, so I'm the first guy. That's not how I picked a seat. It was the only seat left when I came late to the class.
You were late. I was going to say you were late.
I was carrying my.
Let me tell you something, Jonathan. Paul was like absolutely the most popular guy in our grade.
I believe it.
Everyone loved Paul. He was
Still
my
do.
defender,
With all popular people, there's a percentage that just hate you.
and I was at the opposite end of the spectrum. I was a comic book reading Star Trek. I didn't watch hockey. I didn't care about sports. And
Mhm.
Paul was my friend. Of all the jocks who bullied me,
I
Paul.
saved him from a fight one day when guys were bullying him. I just walked
I
up to him
mean,
and said, "Look,
and
dude,
that's
if you
why
guys are gonna do this,
he was like
we'll go
that.
outside right now, and I'll take you both on."
He was like Adam Baldwin, and I was
Hey,
Oh
Chris
yeah, true
Christie.
story.
Yeah,
I
my,
love
my,
it.
my bodyguard. The real
So,
Love it.
but you know, just going
Thanks.
back to my
Thanks,
stream
Pauly.
of consciousness for a second, and you know,
Sorry, God.
no, I mean, I almost lost what I was trying to say. The whole point,
I know that.
you know, because it just brought me back to the late
Episode
70s.
43, everybody.
Yeah, no doubt, writing and so on. But I guess if I can't remember it, it's not that important. But it was just about manifesting positivity, and it's really so easy to do. Like if you're surrounded by negativity, you're in a bad place. It's tough. But
Yeah.
if you can find a way to surround yourself
Yeah.
in positivity, in psychology and sociology and physical
Mhm.
and mental,
Yeah.
and find your journey and find your space. Once you find that space, you have to hold on to it, because
You do.
anything less is not going to be acceptable, and you won't feel comfortable within that piece.
Right.
And that
And
love.
to tie the writing into the health stuff, I put a post up today, and it was sort of dedicated to people that are going through something like this. And I was talking about embracing your passion. So it could be shooting hoops, playing guitar, sketching, painting, whatever it is. And really, like, you've got your family and friends around you, but while you're going through this battle, really dig into your passion, because it really becomes like a best friend. So when I was doing chemo last time around in 2022, I wrote a book called Drums, Guns, and Money, which was one of the Lou Crasher books. And I couldn't, with my eyes and my headaches and stuff, I couldn't do it on the laptop. So I did most of it by hand. So that was a hell of a time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, how has your illness affected your ability to write?
Before you answer that question, can we just briefly mention Lou Crasher novels? The Big Crescendo, Don't Shoot the Drummer, Drums, Guns, and Money,
My favorite
Standalones, Moose's Law, Chloe, The Defender coming soon, and Memoir coming soon. I just wanted to throw that in because
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
We want 50% of your sales, just for the record.
Okay.
No,
There
I
you
just
go.
want you to continue to come on as a free guest, as a friend,
Right.
and share your journey, because
Well, right. So something again to that passion that you have. I sort of told myself, if on the off chance that I don't make it, I want one more book or one more whatever that thing is to come out after I'm gone. But that was pretty morbid. I didn't live in that thought much.
No.
I really dug into the book because it was there and it came pretty quickly. So I got it published. It came out in 23 or 24. And it was nominated for a Seamus Award. Now, the Seamus Award...
those are Johnny's favorite awards.
Yeah, those are
Shameless awards.
Shameless.
No, shameless is slang for private detective.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
and in crime fiction and mystery, it's one of the only ones that drills down on private investigators. And you'll like this, Johnny. When I was querying Crasher back in the day, so many of those agents say nobody likes PIs.
Oh, they're full of shit.
And I wouldn't write back. Well, everyone loved Magnum PI and Rockford. And
Yeah.
they're like, nobody can relate to that anymore. I'm like, oh, okay.
George Lucas heard the same kind of comments. When he tried to Star Wars.
Exactly.
Nobody
Right.
wants to see science fiction movies, right?
Right. So I was so honored to be nominated, and then so the awards took place at a conference in Nashville. So that became a cool event. My brother and his wife came down, sister and husband, and
Did
my
you
wife.
put on your best cowboy outfit?
Oh, dude, I so had to hat and boots. It's just freaking. I love.
Did
that
you have
shit.
a hat? Do you have a 10-gallon
Oh
hat?
yeah, I do. If you go back and look at my videos.
I have. I've seen it, man. It's absolutely massive.
Oh man, I loved it. Yeah, so we went out to a bunch of clubs, and I didn't win, but I did win. And
Of course.
so if you stand back, from a distance, you look at the whole thing. Let's say the universe, God, whoever knew that Jonathan's got his cancer's going to come back. Let's give him just a little let's give him a little morsel of sunshine. Let's get him nominated, get him down to Nashville, put the hat and boots on, you know.
I love it.
And it was such a good freaking time, you know. So
you feel it was a gift from the angels to say, keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work. And, you know, so much of, if you ask me about the aches and pains and side effects, I don't remember because I was so knee deep in that book, writing that book.
Excellent.
You know, so if you have a passion,
the writing was cathartic.
Yeah, and a lot of people will. I think the first time we get the news, or you feel like crap, you'll say, "Wow, I'm not going to be able to shoot hoops anymore. I'm not going to be able to go rock climbing." You know, you just think about what you're going to lose. But if you can hang on to even part of it, just fight for that too, because those are the things that keep you happy. Happiness, positivity. All of a sudden, the cancer doesn't have a chance because you didn't let it take that thing from you. It didn't take that frickin' passion from you. That's yours. And I remember a lot of people say, "How do you stay so positive?" And again, I looked at it like a challenge, like an athlete. Why should I give my positivity to cancer? You know, F cancer. I'm going to stay positive because that's who I am. I'm not going to change my personality, dude. Come on.
Well, that's what cancer wants. They want you to be negative, and that's when they just accelerate and take over.
You picked the wrong host.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? At the Canadian Bro Show, we always search for the best co-hosts. And we're bringing you back. This is not over, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it here.
Oh, I mean, we love to have you. I mean, like, you know, it's like, where do you go from that? Like, so what happens after this show? What do you do next? What's the next thing you do? You hug your wife, you tell her you love her, you go take some clients out, you work them out, you work yourself out, you get back to writing. Nothing stops, nothing changes.
Yeah, exactly. And so last time around, like at 22 years old, I ate as much beef as I could and lift as much weights to get to be 200 pounds, which is such a stupid knucklehead goal. But it was the 80s, right? Yeah. You know, it was like all about Arnold and Gold's Gym and stuff like that. So I have pretty much been within the 5, 6, 7 pounds since then.
Yeah.
Wow. But when in 2022, after the heavyweight chemo and then the stem cells, I got down to 165 pounds.
Man.
So there's a good chance that nonsense is going to happen again. So I've been a lot of protein, eating clean, lifting, and all that stuff.
Not the best way to lose weight, but sometimes a necessity.
I don't recommend the cancer diet. This trainer does not endorse.
At least you don't have to take Ozempic.
I'm saving so much money. Yeah, so a lot of, it's like, you're 3 games into the season, but you know you can make it to the playoffs, and you think you got a shot at the trophy, right, Paul?
Hey, man. Hey, are you watching the game tonight?
No, I am now.
Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's going to be unbelievable.
For the purpose of this podcast, yes.
Excellent, because I think we're going to watch something special tonight. I think something special is going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's.
Right.
I'm hoping that the best player in the world right now is. Just on a side note, talk about hoops for a second, is Nikola Jokic, of course. But I think the best point guard in the world, or best combo guard, is Canadian, SGA, and I'm hopeful that they are going to be the youngest team to win the NBA championship tonight. And if they don't, Indiana has played unbelievable. But I'm going. There's 2 Canadians on Indiana and 2 on SG. So, you know what I mean?
It's like I'm listening to Klingonese. I need subtitles.
Johnny, you got to come over. You got to come over to the bright side, man.
And you probably speak Klingonese, though.
He does. He speaks Klingon in sign language.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You can sign the Klingon.
Jonathan, I want to ask you kind of a generic interview type question, and maybe I asked this on the last show. So you're in the DeLorean. You go back to when you, as you said, 22 years old after going 88 miles an hour. What's the first thing you say to your younger self?
And you said I'm 22, 23?
You're at your age now. You go back in time and you meet your 22-year-old self. What's the first thing you say?
Oh, God. I
know what I would say. I'd be like, lighten up! Tell me such a drama queen about everything.
Yeah, I would say don't party so hard. And that stuff that you are not confident about, just freaking do it. Just go for it. Just go for it. I probably should have started writing back then. And there's a couple. I could have worked harder at the drums. I knew what it took, but I would get comfortable. I would sit in comfort too much.
Yeah.
So
Are you
I'd
still
say get your S together, I would say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you still personal training? Are you still doing
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So I do most of it virtually, but I do have people come over, and it's kind of like the pandemic. So I just wear a mask.
So on a side note, just to answer that, Johnny, on this, after this episode's film, we are filming live, but we're not live in real time. This episode will be released. We've got one in the can. Might be released before the other one because it's just so good to have Jonathan back. But for those that are interested in Jonathan's talents and his story and his journey, his website is jonathanjbrown.net.
I posted it on my Facebook page.
And we're going to put it in the link in this episode when we post it to the Canadian Bro Show. And on that website, if you don't mind me saying so, you would have said it anyways, Jonathan, he's got home, personal training, narrator game, books, media, and the works. And that's a really good place to start. And social media, Jonathan, you're all over the place in social media, right?
Yeah. Facebook and the Gram, I can't remember. Facebook's just my name. Yeah. Instagram, I can't remember.
So it's Meta. You're basically under the Meta web.
And all your books are available on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and I don't know if they probably through Chapters, maybe.
Yeah, it might be.
Maybe.
Hey, Jonathan, quick question to a successful author that has many accomplished. What would you ask our co-host with the most, Mr. Johnny Leister? Please, I know you're probably curious a little bit on some of the...
did you...
Talk about me.
Did you go after an agent or no?
No. I did initially. I think like a lot of writers, I'm probably following a similar path. Mm-hmm. When I started doing this, I did email like every agency that I could find around the world. And I just got basically either nothing or something very formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
Your submission and go to hell.
Auto answer.
Yeah. So, a lot. What I've found, and this is coming from a lot of other authors, is the ones that are really good and busy, they usually get an introduction through someone they know.
Right.
And the other ones, a lot of them are really too chicken-esque to take a chance on someone they don't know. Right. So we hear these stories like a new young agent got this new talent and then they just blew up. Well, a lot of those new young agents, they just won't take the chance. They just won't. I don't know what they do. They must have.
Why is that? What are they afraid of? Getting fired?
They are just wasting time and it not selling. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand.
But it's a tough business, though, right? I mean,
publishing is tough.
With this technology, we can all be our own agents.
You can. Yeah. I mean,
true.
You don't need one if you're self-publishing and you know how to market. You don't need it. And a lot of traditionally published authors have left their publishing houses to do it on their own because if they have a big following, then they do it.
And going back to quickly to basketball, SGA, the favorite Canadian basketball player, might be the MVP in the World Championship tonight. He fired his basketball agent that he had from the beginning of his career.
Oh.
And he's on the precipice after he wins the NBA championship and the MVP of getting the largest salary in the history of the NBA because he represents himself and doesn't have to pay out 10 to 15%.
Oh, he didn't get another agent.
No, he represents himself.
Woo, I like that.
Isn't that interesting?
I like that.
So, Johnny, you've been self-publishing for how long now?
Since 2019. I started with Amazon. I had some hiccups with them, and now I use Draft2 Digital. And boy, it's easy to use. It's free.
Right.
And what they do is they springboard your books to different platforms.
Right. So you're ebooks only, or do you have some hard paperbacks?
No, that's something that I need to get my butt in gear. I need to I see the pictures online of writers with the tables, and I see the books on the tables, the convention. I'm like, they're living my dream. That's how I want to live my life. I want to travel.
No, you want to copy one of our guests. What was Mr. Bobby Banks? Bobby Nash.
Yeah, another writer we had on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and because we really like to focus on writing and novels.
Is he a self-published guy or he's traditional?
I think he has a publisher. It's called Ben Books.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of both. But he travels. He does the Comic-Con circuit.
Do people recognize you, Jonathan? Have you ever been asked for an autograph? Do people...
No. at these
In
conferences.
Vancouver, you had a bunch of people show up, and
Yeah, I mean, I'll do book signings. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
can I sign your book at a launch or at a conference or something? And that is amazing. That feels so good. That's
Yeah.
basically your cheering audience right there.
Are you selling enough books? that
No.
if you meet the person-
Whatever the rest of that question is, no.
Okay. That's not why. Okay.
To quit mine, no.
I get a spreadsheet from Draft to Digital every 3 months. You sold 1 unit today. Here's your
Okay.
57-cent royalty that's going into
Right.
your checking account. So I probably made about $20 since
Yeah. Well, the more I mean, I wasn't kidding myself that I was going to be the next James Patterson or anything, but you do in the back of the mind say, hey, what if this is the one that just has the right timing and the right heat? Because that can happen to anyone.
Sure.
But now getting, 10, 12 books in, I think about that very rarely. And that Seamus Award was one of the only times I've entered a contest. Like, I don't really care about contests and that stuff. And where I'm at now is I enjoy writing more now than I ever have from when I started in 2013, I guess, published my first one. Like, I love it, and it gives me, it's almost like I could care less, except I would love eyeballs on it and some feedback, but I have...
And a little bit of change always helps.
A little change, yeah. But I'm working on these 3, and I've got 4 loosely outlined on deck, ready to go. So with this nuisance knocking at me, and I'll be 60 in November, I find the clock is ticking, because even if I get a full-length novel done in 7 or 8 months, I still might have to wait a year before it comes out. You got to be patient, right?
Yeah.
So
You mentioned that you're writing your memoir, like an autobiography, would you say?
no, well, that's I had to figure out the difference. The autobiography is usually your whole life, right?
Right.
And the memoir is usually circled around an event in your life.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why some people put up more than one memoir.
Right.
So it would be around cancer. And I had, shout out to Walter and his wife Cookie. They're Vancouverites, publishers.
Cool.
And I gave them just the first couple chapters just for their feedback. And they said, keep doing what you're doing. It's rolling along. At times, it kind of comes across as a self-help book. So just stick to the story. And I'm like, okay. And they said, by the way, you should do a self-help book after this. I'm like, aha.
Yeah, well, that goes to your comment you said earlier about going on the road. I think that's where you're going. I think you're going to manifest not only what you've accomplished so far, but I think this is going to be a new chapter in your life where you're going to help other people through the experiences you go through.
Your memoir is optioned by Paramount, who plays you in the film adaptation.
I love it.
Let's just go. Have you guys heard of Michael B. Jordan?
Yes, of course.
He can do it. Okay. He might have to gray up a little bit, but I think he's...
But isn't he shorter and darker than you?
He's probably short, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, these I don't know.
All of these actors are short, bro.
I guess Denzel's a little long in the
Denzel's older. I would go with Big. I like Big Will. He had that little slapping incident, but I think he's made amends.
It was all set up. That was all set up.
I thought that was awesome what he did. I thought it was good for you, bro. You stood up for your wife.
Dude.
Honestly, it was a weak slap. If you're gonna slap someone, you could knock the guy's head off with a slap. Seriously, that was a bitch ass slap. I'm telling you,
that was It's interesting. A couple months before that, I was watching an episode of sort of the behind the scenes of him getting in shape for a movie and working on narrating his memoir. And during the course of it, he was kind of complaining a lot about the workouts, which I was surprised because it didn't look that hard. And he kind of had a meltdown about whatever. And I remember when it was over, I said to my wife, I said, Big Will's not doing so well. There's something going on with him. And then 2 months later, slap. I said, oh, there's that meltdown. But I think with a lot of these celebrities, there's not that one buddy to pull them aside and say, hey, man. Or if they are, they get rid of them. So they're just surrounded by yes people. And that's the tough part.
Or the invitation to those salacious parties. Maybe come up and bite everybody in the ass that attended.
Yep.
Right? There's some really weird shit going on there.
Bro. Oh, like the Diddy parties and stuff?
Oh, man. I didn't even want to say it. The more I heard, I was like, are you kidding me? Seriously, bro.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, hey, Johnny, do you have any more questions for
Okay,
our
maybe one more about your experience.
Mhm.
How has your quality of life? You kind of answered. How has your quality of life improved since your first diagnosis? And what's your takeaway from your experience?
activity?
Well, the first and the biggest one is that my wife and I got closer.
Oh, that's very nice.
And I
Okay.
didn't think we weren't looking to get closer. I mean, because we thought, hey, we've arrived, we've got it all. And I was so worried about her worrying, right? Like, because she's so empathic, and she's Italian, so there's passion and all that, and I just didn't want her to worry. I didn't try to hide stuff from her. Well, a little bit, because we're guys, right? You don't,
Right.
and we also don't complain. We don't.
Hey, women hide things too, you know.
Yeah, but we got. She was. I knew she was going to be strong, but she was way stronger than I thought, and we just got closer, and our communication just opened way up. So
You
that was
triggered
such a
one more
positive.
question. Is there anyone that's shied away from you since this experience? Because some people they're sensitive about this stuff, right? Has anybody
Wow!
that ever happened?
Give that guy
Great
a
question.
Pulitzer.
Because some people don't like it when I talk
yeah.
about my books.
No.
I start talking about books, and they go, "Oh, we don't want to hear about it." I'm like,
Well-
"I want to hear your story. How come you don't want to hear mine?"
I'll say this, and I really say this to people who are
Oh, man.
being touched, or their families are being touched by cancer right now. There has just been a couple of pretty close friends and family that did back off, and I know that it's not anger or malice. They're just
That's their
uncomfortable. They're scared.
They're definitely scared. It's fear-based.
Yeah, and there's a few that I've had really good conversations with since and mend the fences, and some that go. But again, that's the Buddhist thing too. Like, people do come and go, and you don't hold anything. You just know that they couldn't handle it. That
You know,
that-
and it's so good you bring up the Buddhism way,
Yeah.
because it's exactly how they look at it. It's free flowing.
yeah,
It's you don't judge the free flow.
Yeah.
The spirits come and they go.
yeah,
And there's no such thing as coincidence.
Mhm.
They're coming for a reason, and if
Yeah.
you're aware enough to acknowledge whatever that reason means to you,
yeah.
is beneficial, and that's why they are. And a lot of them are angels. A
Yeah,
lot of them.
Absolutely. And there's one person that they reached out to me and said, "So sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" And I said, "There's nothing to forgive. We are good." Like,
Well, that's
and then,
awesome.
but still, it turned out to be a goodbye, because that person just never reached out again. And you go through initially, okay, I'm hurt, and then you try to understand. And I thought, I don't need to understand everything.
And it's beyond your
Relationships
control anyway.
come and go, and it's what
And
it's what that
friendships,
person,
absolutely.
exactly, and it's what that person needed to do at the time. Maybe they couldn't wait to get out of my life.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it makes no sense for me to try to sit here and figure it out. It's just like, you see them floating by on the tide, you're like, yeah, we had a great run, and now you're doing your thing and I'm doing mine, and that's
and when this vessel, when this spirit and soul leaves this vessel, you may see them again.
exactly.
You're better off without those people in your life.
Well, some you want to see. It
Yeah, who
doesn't
knows?
always have to be negative, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it-
you
it's
don't know
just
what they're going through.
people have their own journeys, and
Mhm.
and they're passing through, and it's just my whole thing is about awareness. Is try to allow your intuition to speak to you freely, and you can pick up on signals in life.
Yeah, and so a lot of people will say, I didn't reach out to you because I just wanted to respect your privacy. Now, that's great, and that's a kind of a common thought, especially old school. But what they don't realize is they've made the decision for both of you. So our good friend Andrew Macbeth, Andrew Barry, Paul.
Yes.
He did the best thing. Now I want everyone to turn up their speakers and get close. I thought this was the best loving thing a guy could say. He called me up and he goes, "Okay, how are we going to do this? Do I text? Do we stop by? Do I give you space? Like, you tell me how we're going to do this." And
I love it.
I mean, it was like we were in a huddle in football, or it's a timeout in basketball, or it's just someone who says, "I love you, man. I don't know how this is going to go. How is it going to work for you?" Now, if you have a family member, like, that is the best way. Like,
You know, it's
That's the
such a
best.
great analogy, because my experience with Jonathan and being in a team sport like basketball and knowing Andrew Barry,
Yeah.
I went to Bayview with him in grade 7, and
Yeah.
he went to
Great
Bing
guy.
and I went to Kids, and Jonathan joined him at Bing, and great guys, but there was, you know, when you meet someone that is, if you will, spiritually inclined, and you're not really sure the spirit is just a little bit brighter than everybody else. Andrew was always that.
Yeah.
And he was a very humble chap. He was a very confident chap. He was a charismatic guy.
Totally.
He was a ladies' man. He was a very handsome man.
Yeah.
But he also had the generosity of soul and spirit.
Oh, yeah.
He was a kind soul, and
Still
still
is.
is to this day.
Yeah. He's down here. So
Yep.
yeah. But I
Interesting
thought
story.
that was cool. I mean, I started.
Shout out, Andrew, wherever you are, bro.
Yeah, I started giggling when he said it. I said, "Dude, that's such a cool way to put it," and
Yeah,
I
really
shouldn't be
nice.
surprised. Because after high school, we were roommates for a couple summers too. So
Yeah.
we go back.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Great
Yeah.
stories. Great
But yeah,
stories.
Johnny, that's a great question. And everybody, if you're sick and somebody moves off, don't take it personal.
No.
Don't. It's never.
Life goes on.
Yeah, and don't keep score. Do not keep score.
No, don't waste your time. Just
No.
brush it off the shoulder like dandruff,
Yeah.
and move forward. Change
And-
the shirt, wash your hair,
Yeah.
and move forward.
And it could be the universe giving you
Looking
space to
older.
deal with what you need to deal with too.
Absolutely, and that's more often the case than not.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
But in saying that, is there anything you'd like to share with us in closing? We're at an hour. It's been an unbelievable episode.
This flew by, man. This is.
It's because we're into it. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea for a novel that's been sort of percolating in your brain for years?
Good question.
And years?
Good
And you're
question.
like, I'll get around to it one of these days, but you still haven't done it.
Well,
Is
no,
there-
he's got what,
Yeah.
four or five books in
I'll
Maybe in Hollywood, they call it development hell.
Okay,
right?
I will
It's a
tell.
project that everybody wants to make. Like
Yeah.
Officer and Gentleman, just as an example. That's
Mhm.
for every major actor, and then
Yeah.
it's like a hot potato,
Right.
and then they all turned it down,
Yeah.
and then became a hit movie. So, is there anything in your brain, like an
Yeah.
unrealized project?
I'll tell you one, and you're gonna like this, Johnny, because this is my nerd factor.
Oh,
So when I was in the
Like
when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, I discovered the books by Robert E. Howard, which were Conan the Barbarian,
Johnny loves those.
and I loved those books, and I read them.
So did I, actually.
And I took them to school and stuff. And then I went back to them in late teens, and then I went back early 20s. I was and the movie with Arnold and stuff like that. So I know a lot of writers that a couple of them have actually worked. It'll be by James Patterson and another author underneath,
Right.
or Clancy or something like that. So I've met some of those authors and asked them what that journey looks like and how you go about it. And then there's other ones where you can just be a ghostwriter in a series that's going on. So there are still Conan books now.
Right.
So I went to the website, like, hey, how do I write a Conan book? Because I still think in those terms, right?
I would love
And-
to write Superman. I would if I had a chance, I would write a killer Superman movie. At least I would like it.
or Spider-Man or Batman.
I found when I got there that there's a lot of rules, and they take the lion's share of the dough if it sells. So I was like, okay, so I won't do Conan. Well, that would have been fun.
Just
And
do
I'm
your own
thinking,
barbarian.
what's that?
Create a new character. Create a new Conan.
Thank you. That Johnny just you
All
set him
over
up, lay up.
All over it. Yeah.
This is that's what I'm doing. I've already got another character. He's black. It's very similar to Conan, and it's just gonna have the stuff that I like
Will
in there.
it be set in a mythical realm or
Yep,
historical? Oh, so
Yes,
you
sir.
Should create like
Yes,
little
sir.
powers for high
Yes,
powers.
sir. Yeah.
Like John Carter, Warlord of Mars, but a brother.
But brother.
Real mythical barbarian.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
That was a good effort for that movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those ones that flies under the radar.
It was a good effort. Yeah.
Oh, it was
Which one?
really good.
Which one?
John Carter, Warlord of Mars.
I thought that movie was awesome.
With
Oh.
Taylor Kitsch, what was it?
He
Was he
marketed
the guy?
very well. Yeah, he
No, it
was-
wasn't
No,
Taylor. No,
no.
it was
Who?
a guy they discovered and it pretty much disappeared shortly thereafter. But
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
real handsome
I
dude,
thought
and
that movie rocked, and
it was incredible. It was so good. Even my wife loved it, and she hates that kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, I love that era, let's call it, of the broadswords and the taverns
Yeah,
and the wenches.
yeah.
I love all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff. and those battles. And I think I was probably 21 or 22 when I went back and read the Iliad or the Odyssey, one of those two. And then I thought, oh, this is where he got the real description of slicing through sinew and bone and getting down to the marrow. And I was like, now I get it, man. And that stuff keeps you young, man. Do the silly shit that keeps you young.
Absolutely. And in saying that, I guess we should probably wrap it up, because we're gonna bring Jonathan back and
sharing your story.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
really
Anytime.
inspirational, really incredible, and thank you for spending the time and to join us at the Canadian Bro Show. And this is the second part 2 of Jonathan's journey. If you go to at the Canadian Bro Show on YouTube, you can go back to episode 23 and view our very first one. Jonathan hasn't changed. He's exactly the same. He's effervescent, alive, beautiful, talented, and one of the nicest set of teeth I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And he's the same dude I knew almost 40 years ago. I swear to God, nothing's changed. And as a matter of fact, all three of us, we're all approaching the big 6-0. It's hard to believe, but
I'll be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, man.
Oh, and Johnny, I'm back in August for a few weeks. We're going out. We're going to our local. We're gonna do tequila and beer. I don't drink either one of them right now, but I will for your birthday.
Funny. That's so funny.
For one night, and I'll tell my wife. I said, don't bother waiting for me. I will be drunk when I come home, and it's my once a year thing. But in the meantime, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody joining us, and thank you again, Jonathan. And
thank you guys.
And John Leister, the co-host of The Most. This is the Canadian Bro Show. It's episode 43. We're at the Canadian Bro Show, and we really appreciate your time and effort. And if you enjoy this show, of course, you know the whole scene. Subscribe,
the whole
like,
scene.
share.
Do it. Yeah, do it. Share it everywhere.
Please
do.
It.
What an honor to be here, and I love the fact that you guys talk so much about love, because
man,
that is the bottom line. And I'm glad I don't love social media, but if we didn't, you and I wouldn't have reconnected, Paul. And
I love social.
It's an addictive thing. It's fabulous.
Good for you.
And there can be a lot of ways. I'm using 9 different social media.
Yeah, it's a tool. You got to use it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
To manifest. Okay, before we go, I have a book. I'm a Winston Churchill fanatic. I have a Winston Churchill.
I like that. Mr. Churchill in the White House.
I find everything he said to me is worth quoting. And I feel that if it wasn't for men like Mr. Churchill, we'd be living in a very different world today. It would be a much nastier world. And before we go, I do have a pun.
Well, are we going to do the pun last and allow us to do books as well?
Jonathan,
you got a book?
You want to show us one of your books?
This writer didn't show up with any books.
That's okay. I got one.
Come on, you pitch your stuff, man.
I got one.
Bring a book next time.
As some of you might know, I'm actually a licensed realtor. I'm an investor and a landlord. That's a side of what I do. I'm also a creative writer and the host and the founder of the Canadian Bro Show. But in my real job, I'm actually a licensed realtor. And one of my closest friends, Johnny knows him, is Eddie and Danny Romagnoli. They put their money together. And they bought me The Full Fee Agent, which is a very interesting book. I've read through about half of it, but I'm going to finish it when it stops raining in Kelowna, because I like to read it out on my back deck, by Chris Voss and Steve Shull. And it's essentially how to stack the odds in your favor as a real estate professional. And I've been in real estate for 22 years, an investor and landlord, as I mentioned. And if AI is going to take any job, it's going to be mine. So I've got to figure out, thank God I'm refereeing up in Kelowna. I'm a professional referee, believe it or not, Jonathan.
I know. I remember that. I love that.
And I did 2 games yesterday, and I had to learn how to walk all over again this morning.
You got to ice them knees up, right?
My right knee in particular. But in the meantime, I just wanted to say thanks again for joining us. Johnny, you got a pun before we go?
Here we go. Hang on, hold on to your seats.
Brace yourselves, Johnny.
I bought a dog from a locksmith. When I took him home, he made a bolt for the door. Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
You're welcome.
So is that going to make it to the show?
Oh, dude, yeah. We're going to finish.
What are you waiting for?
That's awesome.
Oh my God. We're going to finish up right now. And again, thank you for joining the Canadian Bro Show. It's episode 43 with our favorite Canadian Canadian author. He's American and Canadian, but we're talking. We like to talk about all things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. It's episode 43. Thank you very much for joining us, Jonathan.
Everyone.
Johnny Leister. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, everybody, before we go, if you could just do us one favor. When we're talking about love, can you just be kind? Be kind to a stranger. Be kind to a friend.
You'll be glad
kind
you
to
did.
someone you don't like. Help a person across the street. Open a door.
Oh, yeah.
It's free. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost anything. Let's spread the light of love in this crazy, mad world, and let's find a way that we can discover how we all can live together in this beautiful world, which it can be. In the meantime, thank you, boys. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next episode in the Canadian Bro Show. In the meantime, peace, love, and happiness, and health. Be kind out there, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Awesome.
Thank you, guys. Take care.